I was born in Anderson, and it was during the Depression years, 1923, and my dad couldn't find work. He went everywhere looking for work with a wife and 2 babies, and he was just picking up odd jobs, you know. Well, I had an uncle, Mr. Sloan Evans, and my mama's sister was his wife, and they lived on Smythe Avenue, and he was one of the overseers at Dunean. And he got in touch with Mom and Daddy and told them if they come, he would get them a job. So they come, and my Aunt Maud kept me and my sister while Mom and Daddy went to work, and we lived with them till we got a house. And they got a house at number 1 Webb Street. And I was only 3 years old, and my sister was younger than me.
I come straight out of high school to Dunean. My brother helped me get a job in which he actually got me the job.
Okay.
Going into the mill and the sound and all, he had already learned to read lips.
Oh, wow.
So,
it was so loud.
He stood with the boss men over there talking, and so we started back down the steps out to the car. I said, "What did they say, Ray?" He said, "You had a job and didn't even know it." So I said, "Come in Monday." So I was the best sweeper they ever had in Dunean Mill. So I enjoyed my job. I saved my money, and to pay down on a house and bring my mother out of the country into the city where she could walk to the doctor, walk to the grocery store, walk to church, and would have no problem on getting around.
I was born into a family that lived there already, 1941, April 1st. My mother and father and my brother and sister were already living there on Wallace Street, and they were, my father worked in the mill. I believe at that time he was what you would call, what was called a loom fixer. I've lived in about 4 houses at Dunean. And my father moved from loom fixer to what they call second hand, which was some kind of overseer or supervisor. And then he became overseer of weaving. He was over the weave room. And he retired from Dunean, J.P. Stevens.
My affiliation with Dunean was on the bus as a child, coming over to the church and learning people. I mean, people just were wonderful. They walked to church. Hardly anybody had a car. You worked in the mill. You walked to church. We rode the bus, primarily. And when the mill sold the houses, my dad had some major health problems and had to leave Greenville City Police Force. So when the mill sold the houses, he was able to buy a house at Dunean.
Oh, okay.
1949, I believe. And we moved to Dunean, one of those Snow White houses. And I always loved the looks of it and the feel of it, that people cared about one another. I mean, why not? They walked everywhere. They saw each other. They walked to work, back home from work.
We moved to Dunean in 1966. My dad drove a Greyhound bus and got transferred to Greenville and moved here in 66 and been living here ever since. My grandpa and my aunt and my uncle lived over in Dunean, and we moved close to them, moved into an apartment, and then when that house I live in now become available, I guess my grandpa helped my mom get that house, and that's where we lived. And the mill, like when it was, it run for, I think the day after the Titanic sank, April 14th, when Dunean Mill started production. And it run forever. Was always down there, hanging around the mill. My mom worked there for like 40 years.
I moved there in December of 2004. I bought a house on Allen Street, and it was a cute little community, and it was old, which is, I like old communities, and it was real old, getting pretty close to being 100 years old. So that attracted me. The house attracted me. The old features. Plus the history. I was really interested in the history, and it had a lot of history, and people were really trying to keep that mill village up. It's sort of like Greenville's little secret. People don't know about it, and I like that.
At the time I moved over there, the houses was pretty reasonable price-wise, and the community is first class, especially the street I live on. All the neighbors, very nice, a lot of long-time people living over there, settled down,
Yeah, especially 49 Smythe Avenue. It brings back all kinds of memories. It's really where we came together as a family at our grandmother's house, and that's when we moved in there. It kind of we grew up in that house, I guess you could say, for those 5 years that we lived there, 5 or 6 years. Me and my youngest brother just riding around bikes on the street, and our aunt lived down the street as well, and we had a great aunt that lived across the street, and just going over there and having some homemade fudge all the time.
And so at any particular time over the past 50 years, there's been at least 3 sets of his family in Dunedin at all times. So it's definitely a lineage.
Well, I moved here 3 years ago, and we were just shopping for a nice urban neighborhood with affordable housing, and we just found a good deal in a nice house and picked it up. We didn't really know what we were getting into, but it seemed like a nice area.
And we had everything here convenient from the very beginning. We had the drugstore, we had barbershop, we had the grocery store, and churches and schools, and every activity that anyone could think of, in baseball, basketball, football, and the Mr. Smythe saw that people were taken care of in that realm, and it was just like a city within a mill village.
They called it welfare back when the mills first opened. Not the welfare we know of today, but for community welfare. They sponsored garden clubs. They sponsored having trees available. People could get them and plant them. They looked after. They wanted people to move in, train to work, and stay there. They were not after big turnovers of people. They used to have a shuffleboard that was still there, laid out on cement beside the community buildings there. And you could go down any day and there'd be a group there playing shuffleboard. And people sitting around playing checkers in that room that's right next to the empty one on the corner where the beauty parlor is now. Every Christmas, the plant packed fruit bags and a toy for all the children of the workers. And you would go down to the gym, and they had a Santa Claus, and usually the Santa Claus was this big guy named Musherati who worked in the plant, but he, could dress up like Santa Claus, and we're always really excited to just get that bag of fruit and a little toy.
My sister and I went to school all the years at grammar school at Dunean, and we just walked from Webb Street right up the alley, and we was right at the school.
My wife attended, and we moved to Dunean to place them into school so that they would not have to walk through a long ways. And of course, they didn't have buses flowing back and forth then.
I think all my aunts and uncles went there. Pretty sure. Cool.
Your dad?
And my dad went there as well, yeah.
Well, I was first to fifth grade. Just, I guess all my friends there, neighborhood, same people I grew up with. A lot of them I still know, hang around with, talk to, and just it was just fun back then, just being a kid, I guess.
We did a lot of projects. Okay. We planted the trees on the playground, which are not there now. They're houses there. And planted rose bushes along the fence around the playground. Each class would do something like that. But it was a great elementary school experience. Mm-hmm.
See, we got our own barber shop. Used to have a company store down there, but that burned. But we got a barber shop, and got a church in that one of those buildings, and a beauty shop in the other end, which is a plus for the ladies, and 2 churches, great churches.
There was the old Dunean drugstore, and there was a restaurant down there, and the barbershop. Barbershop's still there. But we all hung out at the drugstore when we was kids. And the barbershop, like I say, it's still there.
My dad always took us down to the barbershop. I mean, that's kind of like a staple, I think, of the community, is that barbershop down there. It's kind of outlasted any business that's really been down there. So.
And after he'd eat his dinner when he come in from work, we'd go down to the ball field, watch him practice or watch games. And have you ever seen a donkey ball game?
Mm-mm.
They had one year when we was down there. I've forgotten what age we were, but my sister and me were active, and we was running up and down the seats and laughing and having a good time watching that.
Mm-hmm. We'd have what we call the P field, baseball, the greasy pig, the greasy pole, and all of that on activities for the young people. I never did try to climb that pole now, sure you on that. But the little fellows would do their best.
You know where the P field is?
Mm-hmm.
Down in, that used to be a big baseball park down there.
Mm-hmm.
And we played church ball. And our coach, his name was Ward Williams. He was going to be a professional baseball player.
Oh, wow.
And Ward, he'd give up everything. He just coached Little League baseball.
Huh? Wow.
So I played Little League ball up until I started high school.
That was called the pea field. People had gardens down there because it's in a floodplain. They always had a lot of water.
And then we also, most of the people during that time had victory gardens during World War II for people to grow their own crops so that they could sustain themselves while a lot of the food went to feed the soldiers overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you felt sort of a part of the war effort if you did things like that. So my father had a cow down in what is called the cow pasture. So every day you have to milk a cow, So my father would usually do it after he got off work and it was dark. So we would, sometimes I'd go with him.
We could leave our doors open and never worry about a thing. Never have to worry.
You know, it used to be a great neighborhood to walk around in. We used to play ball. You know, there was a ball field down there. It was a safe neighborhood. Everybody knew everybody.
But we used to play a lot in the neighborhood. You know, it was a great place to grow up, a safe place to grow up. And you could go out and play with the people and the other kids in the community, and you didn't have to worry about being kidnapped or whatever children have to worry about today. Mm-hmm. It was a very safe place to live in a very tight community. You know, people did care for one another, and especially if you were in one of the local churches.
My sister and me were very fortunate to be able to go to Dunean Baptist Church. We was in a good Sunday school class there, and Mrs. Parks and Mrs. Bishop really did make an impression on our lives.
She was there, I think she actually quit school and started to work in the mill. The whole family worked there. They were charter members of the Baptist church. My mom lived with me, and I knew she would be very happy to go back to Dunean because she was still active in the church at that time. Like I said, I'm a member of the Methodist Church. So many things that are good memories involve that church because it's such a little caring church and reaches out totally for the community.
And you know, it makes you feel really good when you buy a new house and you don't know anybody, to have, you know, neighbors just coming in, checking in, and getting to know you. Like on weekends or whatnot, I mean, if people are walking, they say hi, you know, they're just really, people are really friendly there.
We had a real good Halloween turnout. It's really neat to kind of go outside and see all the folks out. And 4th of July has been really good in the neighborhood.
December 2004, December 2005, Dunean had their first Christmas celebration, and it was fabulous.
We have a wonderful Memorial Day celebration, too, and we read out all the names.
Just because it's older, it has more history. It's been established longer.
Of all the 9 mill villages, I think it was the most maintained.
It's unique. I mean, a lot of the mill villages haven't really, I guess, held up as well. You know, the houses haven't aged as gracefully, and, you know, the churches are still very active. I mean, it's a good family kind of oriented area. The houses are similar in Dunean, but, you know, there's a lot of character. The neighborhood's got a lot of character. I think that'd probably sum it up the best.
It's just that it's a very eclectic group of people that make up the population of Dunean.
A very good community to grow up in and to live in.
I'm proud to live there. It's unique and charming.
It's quaint, special. It's a piece of living history.
Praise for you. It's just to say that I love Dunean.